Sounds great. Yeah. Thank you all for having me. I'm actually just thrilled to be here and speaking to you about sort of my journey, actually what's really become, a passion and a calling truly for me. So, thank you for this opportunity. And here, I'll jump down one here, just so you all know, if you couldn't guess, I am very, very conflicted, obviously, being probably what you guys would all think of naturally coming to academic meetings of what you don't want. That's probably me. I'm from the industry, and I'll try not to influence you too heavily. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Clean Screens Incorporated. It's relatively new. I'm going to talk about it here in a little bit. I do have an equity stake in that company as its CEO and founder. I also work for another company called Contamination Source Identification, which is an advanced medical diagnostic laboratory business with some proprietary techniques, which I am a named inventor on, and I receive financial compensations from them as well. So, with all of that, now that you all know how conflicted I am there, I'll jump into a little bit more of my story. I wasn't exactly totally sure of where I wanted to start with this, but I figured I would go back to the beginning a little bit. Being at an academic meeting, I haven't been to one in probably 6 or 7 years now, being in industry, but this is actually me. When I was 19 years old, I was about 3 days out of high school, and I was involved in a very, very bad boating accident. As you can see here, I fractured my pelvis literally in half. It was lateral compression injury. I had my my ilium there was completely fractured off, the pubic symphysis dislocated. I also had a subdural hematoma. It was about, I think, a centimeter away from having to have that decompressed. Fortunately, they didn't, and I still have my skull intact. So that was my first intro into medicine. It was not the way I would have preferred to have it, but it's proved invaluable in my career, and it's really shaped who I've become and what I've done with my life. Now, I've always been a bit of a tinkerer. My grandfather was a mechanical engineer. I've spent my summers building things with my hands, carpentry, woodworking. So surgery has always appealed to me. And after being a patient and seeing how they healed me, literally healed me with their hands, I was kind of sold. Anyway, moving on up into my undergraduate, I went to a small liberal arts school, did the usual track that we're all very familiar with, and got into medical school. I went to Penn State's College of Medicine. And right before I started into my first year of medical school, I actually had I had a hernia repaired through one of my incisions. And through some complications, my bladder was torn, and I spent about 3 months with, a suprapubic catheter, another couple procedures, and just a mess, which we have all seen in the hospitals ourselves. I ended up even having some blood clots, pulmonary emboli, greenfield filters in. So I've had a little bit of a gamut of medical treatments myself. And then I started medical school about 2 days after they pulled the greenfield out of me. It was a quite unique experience. Now, as you can tell, my course has never been standard, or what I would say, I've never tread the course that everybody else truly has. While I was in medical school then, I was always drawn to innovation, business, things of that nature. I helped start a business association. Penn State didn't have a dual MD MBA program at the time. That organization I started blossomed into what became the dual MD MBA program. I think on average they're putting about 10, 15 people or something through. There's a lot of interest now. That was my first foray into that, and I actually met Dr. Randy Halleck and Dr. Eric Pauli through my involvement with a group called SIG. It's the Surgical Innovations Group. So I've been doing this type of a thing for a very long time. And now to really get to something where I deviated from our normal path, because as we all know here very acutely, especially all of you in the audience, you get down that tunnel and you put your head down, you go after that, light there. We have to learn so much and do so much as physicians. It's really, truthfully, an industry like no other, and it attracts the best and brightest. But we all have those doubts as we're approaching it, and what do you want to do when you grow up? Is this really what I want to do? Oh, that's so many years of residency. I didn't like what I was personally being told about what we should be doing, or that I should go into the match regardless of if I felt that I was ready or not. And it's funny listening to some of the previous talks here that all led back to Duke. Through my network, I connected with a physician. He was an ophthalmologist, Duke trained. He has a business called Surge Center. It's ambulatory surgical centers. I think they had up to 280 some of them across the U.S. until recently. They actually had a large divestment where they were purchased for, I think it was a $1 billion type of a deal for all their equity stakes in their surgical centers. So I think they're doing pretty well. He spoke with me and kind of told him what was going on. He looked at me and basically it changed my life. He told me, you don't have to do what they're telling you. Now, that's so simple, right? But that to me just was almost mind-blowing. Everything that usually we get involved with, they kind of tell you to stick with the course, keep going through it, be resilient. I never had somebody tell me to stray from the course or to do what I felt was right. And that was what my gut was telling me. I graduated medical school. I then actually took a position at the Rothman Institute working for the thought leader in periprosthetic joint infections. His name's Dr. Javad Parvizi. He's actually become a mentor and a friend of mine now. I worked there for a year and got to meet some amazing surgeons, got to meet some amazing innovators and people who had a different outlook on things. And it was through that I ended up jumping out into industry. Now, my father actually came up through the ranks in the pharmaceuticals, med tech, med device. He was a sales rep for a while, and eventually the CEO of a company called Metaphor, which was bought out by C.R. Bard, eventually Becton Dickinson, and some of you will probably know this product, but he brought Arista to market, which is a hemostatic agent used in a lot of procedures now. It wasn't back when he did. That was sold for about $215 million back in 2013, I believe, when the deal was closed. So I've grown up around people who think that way. Never thought that I would jump out and do that myself. However, we got involved. My father found a new startup technology that was using RNA sequencing actually to diagnose infections. And that was the whole concept. Being at the Rothman Institute, which is the largest orthopedic research and kind of academic center in that particular specialty, I spoke to Dr. Parvizi, and then we ran a pilot for them. Amazing results, completely blew away, culture and these other new DNA sequencing methods as far as having great specificity as well as sensitivity. Obviously, it's an NGS method, but when I looked at that, I just had the feeling in my gut that I needed to be in on the ground floor on something. I didn't want to wait because if I waited, did 5 more years, what would happen? Wouldn't be in at the ground floor. I wouldn't get to learn. I wouldn't get to participate. I took that leap of faith, and that's been about 6 years. And here I am now. And I don't know if that story will resonate with any of you, and maybe it won't even mean anything to you. But the thing that I really genuinely hope that somebody in this audience or anybody really takes away from this is even just the sense of comfort, that this is possible. You can do something else, even if it's not the same as me, because trust me, my circumstance and story is very unique. I think different, and that is sort of my brand. That's what I do now, and I love it. So passionate about it. I thought walking away from being a practicing physician would mean that I didn't get to help people, heal people, which I loved doing. Stepping out into the industry, though, I can bring technologies to the market that will help millions every day. Actually, a good friend who's a cardiothoracic surgeon had done a similar path later in his career. He had operated and been board certified and well-renowned for years, and then stepped out into the industry. And he said that exact same thing to me. I could operate on thousands of patients, see them in clinic and impact a lot of lives. Or I can go and do what he was doing at J&J, bringing new technologies forward and truly impacting millions all at the same time. And that's the great thing, I think, about healthcare, is that there are so many ways that we can impact the world. And I hope that everybody remembers that. And that's what I feel like I get to do every day as I innovate and as I look to drive these businesses forward. Once I got out into the industry, I started working for CSI at the diagnostic lab and just quickly started teaching myself anything and everything I could. In a startup business, there's a lot of hats that need worn, and frankly, you just have to pick one up and wear it no matter what. especially when it's a small team around you, because you're not going to all be experts at everything, which I'm sure we all understand that, and the previous discussions hit on this too. You do need a team, especially if you're a practicing physician who's at an institution and you have a practice or a family. Running a business and doing it all on your own, completely without anybody else, and still practicing medicine, there's probably somebody who could do it, but I would tell you that's very, very difficult and highly, there's going to be a lot of burnouts if you do truly succeed. It's hard. You don't know sometimes, when you go full in the way I have, you don't know when your next paycheck will come unless you get to revenue. And I think the statistic is up to 90% of new business ideas can fail. It's hard, and you have to be resilient, but I think medicine makes us resilient. We had to go through so much to get to this point, so it's not that you can't do it. It's maybe just that nobody ever told you that you could. There are pathways, and they're really cool. Having these business discussions, I find myself talking about it almost as if it's a sporting event or something like that. Truthfully, it's, maybe that's just my passion, but I got bit by the bug and I haven't been able to let it go. It has been such a rewarding experience for me, and I've obviously liked it. And I'm really looking forward to potentially getting to speak with some of you. I think we have a mentoring session coming up as well. I have actually had experience now in all aspects of startup businesses. Done the CEO role, still am doing the CEO role. I've raised about cumulatively $8 million total between CSI and my own company, Clean Screens. Clean Screens, I've only raised about $300,000 for so far. I'm in a prototyping phase. Now, to give you a little bit of a similar story to what you've already heard about some of the trials and tribulations that you'll see and go through. Clean Screens came about. I looked at an older company's technology that was silver and copper based, using an electrical current to ionize the metals for their antimicrobial properties. They had good data. They were focused on putting a product they developed in ICUs to decrease the contamination on high-touch surfaces. Good idea. And the data was surprisingly fantastic. We have, I think, 5 published and peer-reviewed articles demonstrating up to an 80% reduction in the identified microbes on these sampled surfaces between a before and after intervention and a 30-day dwell time or something of that nature. But so is the nature of these businesses. They couldn't get sales going, couldn't get revenue, and money ran out. It went belly up. That's what happens. I looked at the technology, not the patents, which were starting to expire, and realized that the original patents didn't quite capture everything that was occurring. I've actually just now submitted some new applications to do a strategy that's called picket fencing, whereby you actually picket fence around your old IP. Lawyers know the ins and outs of that. I just know how to say the terms, but that's my role. However, I've been picket fencing this old technology with my own new IP, and I have shifted that into the commercial market. Excuse the little shark tank pitch I'm going to give you here for a moment, but it plays better this way. The most touched object in our daily lives anymore, smartphones, right? Makes sense. Market statistics say that on average, 2,617 times a day is the number of times you will touch your phone. On average, high-end users, though, touch it about 5,400 times a day. Now, we all know that we take our phones generally with us everywhere and that they're really dirty. I've seen some other studies out there that say they can be up to 18 times dirtier than a public restroom toilet. I don't think that's peer-reviewed, but let's just stick with that particular quantity right now. So you're telling me that those, 2,617 times a day you touch your phone, you're basically touching a toilet. Oh, that sounds pretty gross. Well, what if you could just have a high-tech bar of soap? Or what if your phone was a high-tech bar of soap instead, and hence Clean Screens? I'm developing the prototypes for the case that I call Clean Case that would go just on your phone, rechargeable, embedded with the silver and copper technology. And then every time you touch your phone, even if it's just on the back, your hand is getting a micro-cleansing event. Cumulatively then, and again, maybe people will tell me I'm crazy. That's okay. This is a simple concept. Hand sanitizer, you have to wait to let it dry, you have to carry it with you, but what if something was cleaning you just a little bit without you even thinking about it? That's what my product does, and hopefully you'll get to see it on the market at some point. The kind of more near-term thing, I said, if I'm going to make a high-tech bar of soap, why not just make, the bar of soap itself? I came up with an idea I called the germaphobe, and it's a small, I don't have pictures up there, apologies for everybody who can't see, small off-phone product. It could be a small lanyard, have a rechargeable device. You could just rub on your hand, put away, magnetically charge, even planning to have a couple different models of it, sort of like the iPhones do with the standard model, the Max model that has extra features and things. All sorts of things like that, all my commercialization consultants and people advise me on. Anyway, that is a little bit of my story. I don't want to bore you all with the details about my own personal things, because I would really rather open up the floor to questions and allow you to pick my brain as well as everybody else's, because really I do think that that is how this moves forward. That's how you get more information. And if I can leave you with one thing, always, always, always ask questions. Stay hungry and ask questions. Everything that you heard before about, hey, if that IP, the patent attorney's opinion maybe doesn't sit with you, get another one, always. I would even encourage you to get away from your institutions, lawyers if you could sooner, but realizing that I don't belong to an institution, that's easier for me to say, maybe harder for you to do, but it is possible. But again, I want to just thank you all for the time. Really looking forward to speaking with you all. And actually, one more small historical anecdote. I was at Sage's about 8 years ago as a medical student giving a podium presentation. Never thought I would be back here speaking to you today doing what I'm doing. So thank you guys.